Hello and welcome to The Soft Left. I'm Sandra Battaglini, and this is a show where comedians hash out news and events as they unfold in a COVID new world from our base here in Toronto. So you're asking yourself, what is soft left? Well, it's the opposite of hard right. And we're back tonight for our 8th episode called Tyranny, Responsibility, and No Security. So sit back, take a soft left with us as we weave our way around news and events. This is a donor-supported show, so please follow the link below if you'd like to donate to this broadcast or sponsor us on Patreon. We just signed up. We're getting super fish, and we actually just visit softleft.com. We have a website and everything, so this is big for us. We close each episode with a question period, like in the House of Commons, but less douchebag. So for our viewers out there, if you got any questions for our panelists, please get those ready for the final portion of our show. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet our panelists. Cake maker, dream weaver, ricotta lover. It's Phil Luzi.
I'm so excited to be here. You know me so well. I love ricotta.
I witnessed you eat out of the container. I mean,
of course, there's no other way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. There really is. Have you ever done mascarpone out of the container?
That's pretty luscious. I mean, 1 or 2 spoonfuls, but more than that, you're just calling for the devil.
I love you, Luzi. Next,
I love you.
Next, described by his GF as high-strung, it's Monty Scott. Yo, I wouldn't have described you that way.
No, she described. Usually, she calls me high octane. I go 0 to 60 pretty quick.
Okay.
But yeah, I try not to let that side. My parents always told me, don't let people know how crazy you are, because they'll institutionalize you. You know what I mean? They're trying to keep me out of an institution the whole way through. So yeah. I try to keep it on the down low when I'm in public.
Yeah, that's good, because we need you. We need you here with us, Monty. Next.
Yeah, I figure I need myself out of the institution.
Amazing. Next, if you want to know how to kick a bad boyfriend in the face, ask our next panelist, Carol Zoccoli.
Hello, Sandra.
I miss your jokes. I miss your street fighting jokes.
Oh my God, I miss them too.
Oh my God.
You know?
We didn't have a chance this week to sit on each other's patios. We have to make up for it next week.
Let's do it. Yeah, we have a holiday next week, huh?
Okay, yeah. I think we should just suntan together and compare notes.
Let's do it. That's
amazing.
Right. Mm-hmm.
All right. Guys, our next panelist is not gonna take it anymore, and it's Candice Gregoris.
Hey, Sandra.
What's up, girl? Love the military green.
You know what? It was just I just have a penchant for green. That's how I like it. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I like a whisper of green every now and then.
It's beautiful. I love it. And finally, our guest panelist tonight, returning for their second episode, who dreams in Star Wars. It's Gavin Stevens.
I do dream in Star Wars. The whole thing.
Yeah, I keep hitting the nail on that.
Yeah, you do. You are.
I've been watching you. I mean, we've been performing since, I don't know, at least 17 years.
Oh man, yeah.
It's a long time.
Sorry, I didn't mean I sound so downer, but yeah, we have been.
Once you put it into perspective.
It's been a while. It's like, no, once you put it in words, it becomes
I know.
real.
You're like, fuck. Yeah. But thanks for coming back.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh my God. It's my pleasure. So guys, oh my God, I'm trying to get my, we're launching a new format tonight, ladies and gentlemen, to give you a better flow. So we're going to begin with a recap of the past week's events, just a highlight reel of what's been going on around the world. So we'll start off with RCMP Chief Brenda Lucky said, I have to admit, I really struggle with the term systemic racism. I've heard about 5 different definitions on TV. I think that if systemic racism is meaning that racism is entrenched in our policies and procedures, I would say that we don't have systemic racism. Was she born under a couch? You know? And then a couple of days later, after she got grilled like a steak, she admitted there is absolutely systemic racism in the RCMP. And then when they asked her for an example, she cited this physical evaluation test in which participants have to perform a broad jump in an obstacle course over a 6-foot mat. And then she was quoted as saying, how many 6-foot people do we hire? And there are people in all different cultures that might not be 6 feet, including there's not a lot of women that are 6 feet tall that would not be able to get through that type of test. Now you see racism, now you don't. Next, in a dramatic Hollywood coup, celebrities pledged, I take responsibility. A tear-jerking horror jerk-off fest, masturbation minestrone. Joe, cue the video.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility.
I take responsibility for every unchecked moment.
For every time it was easier to ignore than to call it out for what it was.
Every not so funny joke. Every unfair stereotype.
I think I just shit in my face. I mean, even though it's clean, I think I just, oh my God, that video fucking killed me to the core, guys. And then, if things weren't more fucked up, Die Fuhrer Trump held his first rally in Tulsa on Juneteenth and threw a tantrum when more people didn't show up during a pandemic on Juneteenth. That'd be like if the Nazis threw a party, invited everyone they knew on Kristallnacht in 2020. And I'll close with the story behind Harry and Meghan's move to LA with who gives a sweaty fuck. Honestly, it was really hot this week. Before we start the show, I just want to highlight some community news. The Canadian Association of Stand-Up Comedians, that I sit on the board, and as well as Monty, we launched an MP letter writing campaign to make comedy an art form so that comedians can benefit from supports that every other industry in this country receives, like mining, oil, and auto industry. To which a salty fascist commented on my Facebook post with this: unfucking believable. Comics in this fucking country are such pussies. This is a sacrosanct art form, a free fucking wheeling universe of our own motherfucking making. Why the fuck do you ass fuck Torontonians want government funding? It's fucking comedy, you lazy cunts, with no cunt regulations. Because you know, if we actually received this socialist funding, we would be held to some cunt social communist cunt regulations. Fuck off and write a joke. And if you can't make it, then go fuck yourselves and choke on a gas pipe. So if you're wondering what the opposite of soft left is, folks, there you have it. And now let's begin tonight's show. For the stories we're covering tonight, Canada didn't get a seat on the UN Security Council. Again? Corona is soaring at the top of the US and Brazilian Billboard charts. My Corona. Grocery store fascists cut pandemic pay. Gil and Weston, we're coming for you. And the Trump campaign uses Nazi symbols. It's the fourth Reich countdown. Na, 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 na. I know I sang a lot, but guys, I just felt inspired. So let's move to our first story of the night. The Trump campaign used an upside-down red triangle used by the Nazis to identify political opponents in concentration camps. And Facebook took it down. This was unprecedented. They really have not done this kind of stuff. And they said that Facebook, according to Facebook, they said, our policy prohibits using a banned hate group symbol to identify political prisoners without the context that condemns or discusses the symbol. Thank you, Facebook. You know, finally an ethical move, okay? Which is unusual for them. Because they didn't take down the quote, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. And so anyways, there's this professor from UCLA said that it's like closing the barn door after the horses have gotten out. Because, you know, the Trump campaign gets to share their message. And then when Facebook takes it down, they're like, oh my God, we're being censored. And then the Trump team responded by saying, it's an emoji. See, you can see, I think it's up on the screen, or it was up on the screen. So you'll see, but you'll see these, you know, triangles from that are emojis, and then also Nazi German triangles. So before I pass it on to the panel, I wanted to read this quote that I saw in this book, American Deep State. You guys know the one that I'm obsessed about. In 1975, Senator Frank Church said, I know the capacity that there is to make tyranny total in America, and we must see to it that we never cross over that abyss. That is the abyss from which there is no return. So my question to the panel tonight is, do you think America has crossed that abyss? And are the Trump's closet Nazis or are they out of the closet? Take it away, kids.
Well, they're driving right next to the guardrail of the abyss, that's for sure. Like, I don't know if it's gonna go over, but it feels real fucking close.
I mean, I think it's there, but
Yeah, I think Brazil is really close, and what I see is that most people don't want that kind of government. Most people don't want this kind of, and they are. It's so clear with the pandemic that they are incompetent, that they cannot do shit. So I think people are losing the faith in them.
Are you asking
have
if
to lose
they
a
are
little
Nazis?
faith?
yeah. What's that? Sorry, Monty said something.
Sorry, Monty. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying you'd have to lose a little faith in them. I mean, you couldn't be really fired up. Like, you know what I do have a lot of faith in? This government right now. They are unshakable confidence I have in this government.
What were we saying, Gavin?
Are we asking if they are Nazis? Are we?
Yeah, I mean, I was about
is
like,
America becoming fascist?
Yeah, are they Nazis? Are they closet Nazis, or are they out of the closet? I mean, the Trumps.
I think they've. Oh, the Trumps. I don't know. I think he's appealing to his base. I think every president since Nixon has appealed to racists. That's Southern strategy and the whole. That's what they appeal to. War on crime and all that. That's all dog whistles. I just think he's open about it. But I don't know. I think that country's always been what that country is. Hitler learned from Jim Crow. So I mean, yeah. I don't know if they're becoming Nazis, or if Trumps are Nazis, or they just like, that's America.
Yeah,
here I am with the depressing.
It's not
a
depressing.
flavor of Nazi. Like, it feels like I guess where I was just feeling was like, well, I feel like this is the election where they really decide, because the one thing that I feel like at least most recently is just the direct attack on the internal institutions. Like, I've never seen a leader before like turn on the internal institutions of the state. They usually, they use the state as a muscle, of course. But I feel like it's that they try to sow that general doubt in, well, frankly, democracy. So
America doesn't have any enemies. America doesn't have any enemies, right?
Yeah,
that's right. They don't have a Cold War. They don't have terrorists. They just have itself now. I guess maybe that's it. Or Trump is the enemy.
One thing I'll say about Trump and Hitler, if you want to talk about racism, Hitler was never once convicted of racist rental practices. Not once. Hitler was arguably a better landlord than Trump.
He was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that says a lot.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's well documented. Like, the Americans looked to Goebbels and the Third Reich as the propaganda machine, and developed their propaganda machine that way. And I mean, to me, I think maybe why it doesn't appear to be a tyranny as much in the United States is because, their media is so powerful, and it's like Hollywood, woo, everything's so fucking great. But like that is definitely a tyranny, which makes it appear that people don't know. It makes it appear that it's like free and democracy, but it's not, man. It's really not. I was watching like Chris Rock, some clip about how he's saying like there's two justice systems. You know what I mean? Where he's like, if two people do the same crime in the same place, one's white, one's black, they're going to get two different sentences. And it's like, I mean, I know that stuff like this happens all over the world, but it's like, that's how you can describe,
I think I have a theory that it's just my theory. It's not science or anything, but I think that's the difference between Canada and the rest of the American countries. There is a difference because I'm speaking from an experience from Brazil and from observing America too. The sense that Canadians have that everyone is equal, it's very different, guys. It's very different. I think, like, as a new Canadian, like, this is something that for me, it's like a sense of fairness that is still here, that I don't think that it exists in Brazil or in the United States. That people that don't worry, don't care about each other as much.
I mean, that's for sure. Americans for sure don't have that sense of community and caring for one another. They can't even engage in socialized healthcare, you know. So, and they've been accustomed to a two-party system. So if you're not on this side, you're on the other one.
Two parties and 72 brands of ketchup, right? That's America.
That's America.
Like, how infantile is it? How infantile is it to have two parties, just two people that are running for power? It's like, oh, we're going to go with the good guy or the bad guy. Like, that's insane. That's a crazy, like.
And they invented cowboys.
And they're always having elections.
Yeah, Phil.
There's always an election in America. Like, it never stops.
Yeah.
It's like every 3 days they have an election.
I know, the primaries, the juniors, the intermediates. I'm like, the prom vote?
Oh my God, I can't wait. And then when they graduate, woo!
Ooh, who's going to be valedictorian?
But you know what's fucked up? It's because their influence is in all of the countries, especially in the America. It's so huge that we are so influenced by their culture and their everything, their politics, their everything.
They sort of have this way of destroying everything around them. And I mean, they just pull everything. They just suck everything up around them. And they're just like, look at us, how amazing we are because we stole everything. Oh, bravo, right?
I mean, are they influencers or are they just the loud person at the party that you can't help but just listen to them because you can't talk to anyone else, you know?
What did you start off by saying, Phil? What was the first thing you said?
I said, are they influencers or are they just a loud person at the party?
Yeah, they really are. You're right, man. It's true. You're just like.
I'll be honest though, I find Trump entertaining. Like at this point, I'm like, it's hell world. I find him hilarious. Like it's so funny. Every day or every 3 days, I go, oh my God, they elected Trump as president. It just blows my mind. Every 3 days, it just blows my mind.
It's crazy.
Perfect.
I tell people, I'm like, just look at it. It's a stand-up routine that he does. He's literally delivering punchline after punchline. I literally, every time I see him speak, and look, I don't go and watch him speak often, but I burst out laughing because I'm like, it's fucking hilarious.
It's like watching Veep. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's very entertaining. Pretty
much every day.
If it was a TV show. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Awesome.
So, guys, we're going to turn it over to our wizard behind the curtain for a special message.
Hey, do you like how the conversation's going? You want to add your thoughts? Do you have some questions? Well, just put them in the comment box and we'll get back to them at the end. So sit back and spark up a conversation. You know what I mean?
I feel soothed, guys. Oh, yeah, I know I'm going to get...
I love it.
That's so great. Yeah, guys, we're going to go to our next segment. Jagmeet Singh called the Bloc MP a racist and was thrown out of the House. And I mean, doesn't Bloc Québécois translate to racist? And then when he refused to apologize to Alain Terrien, his mother, Bloc leader Yves-François Blanchet, defended her bitch of a son by saying, he's not a racist. He loves everyone. For a more in-depth look into this, let's turn it over to Candice Gregoris.
Oh, hi there.
Hi there.
So last Wednesday, Jagmeet Singh was trying to get an all-party motion passed in the House of Parliament. And it was a motion covering activities by the RCMP, part of sort of the broader social interest in defunding the police right now. And the fact there have been some very high-profile cases that have come up recently of police brutality perpetrated by the RCMP. So Jagmeet Singh put forward a motion saying he wanted all parties to just vote and agree that the RCMP that they would recognize systemic racism, review the RCMP budget, and then also go through a tactical review of RCMP practices. So the motion hit the floor. All the parties were agreeing to it, and at the very last second, Tiren, the Bloc MP, yelled no, and Jagmeet Singh looked at him. The MP blew him off, and Jagmeet Singh said, "You're racist," called him racist. And the motion that didn't pass because the one MP yelled out no, the Tiren. And so then Jagmeet refused to apologize when another Bloc MP said what he said was unconscionable, basically, and he needs to apologize or he should be removed from the floor. Jagmeet said, "Yeah, I said it, and no, I'm not going to apologize," and he got kicked out. So what do we all think about that?
I mean, he got a short work day, so that's not bad on that level.
I got some feels on this. I'm always amazed how white people can wriggle out of a racism conversation. They're so good at it. Like, white people, you're amazing just by being angry at the word racist. I also admire that he didn't back down.
Yeah.
And I also feel like there's been stuff between them before for him to say that out loud. I think there's been like a history of something going on between those two. But I thought it was entertaining.
I saw like, I guess he was interviewed. Jagmeet was interviewed, and he was just like, yeah, he goes, in that moment, I was angry and I just, called him a racist. And to me, it was like, it was, that's how people, that was a racist moment. So I called it out. And
I think it's the best thing that could have happened, whether he meant it to be that or not. The publicity that moment has gotten is amazing, and it's kind of like just taking it out of the shadows. Maybe he needed to get in trouble for us to know how disgusting the behavior is behind the curtain, at the parliament.
Honestly, like when I saw that, and particularly because I had to tell you when I saw it happening, and they were saying like, apologize, and then I'm like going, oh God, please, like what's gonna happen? And then he said no, and I felt like I am so, I don't know, I just had filled with this kind of feeling that I never saw before, but I immediately wanted the moment to be animated like the Log Driver's Waltz. Like, it's just like one of my favorite things ever to happen in Canada, ever. Just, I love that song. He's like,
I tell you one thing I regret is Jagmeet didn't use the old "you can suck the apology out of my dick" move. That is it's always a classic. And I would have liked to see Jagmeet physically ejected. I'd like to put forward a motion that if you're going to eject an MP, it's got to be like a bouncer on two sides of them, throwing them right out of the Parliament buildings. So those are my two requests.
I think if someone pulled out a fan, like that would have been awesome. Yeah. So, I got the vapors. That would have been perfect. It just feels like the place for that. That's
Monty, do you remember when we were in the House of Commons that time when we had a petition that was read in the House of Commons, and before we got to sit in on it, which was, I recommend going. But it was the bitchiest, like, all it was just like, it was always like, when will the liberals finally figure out that the environment's a problem? Like, it was nonstop fucking bitch fest, like constant.
Oh yeah, like, it's a bitch fest.
It's insane. It's just like,
I'll tell you this, Sandra, I snuck off partway through to use the bathroom. They have got a tremendous stalls in that place.
Yeah.
It's a Xanadu.
I mean, seriously, it's really worth it to go sit in that house and listen to these motherfuckers. But if you sit on one side of the house, if you sit really I mean, I guess if you sit on top of the conservatives, then you're conservative. Then all you see is the liberals, so you can't see the conservatives, which is a bit of a problem. You can see when you're
on side to side.
Yeah, like if you sit, there's a part where you sit in the back, and I think then you could see both sides, but otherwise you're seeing one side of the argument. So all I saw were the liberals, and then just the conservatives like, squawking. It was really.
Yeah, we should build a new stadium for Parliament with better seating.
Yeah.
So that we can see them all. We got to get some NFL guy in there. Build a better one.
Well, it is the new part. It is a new house what they're sitting in. It's like it's pretty beautiful what they built.
It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just they should just release like a bull every random intervals during the year. Just let them run around a little bit and wake them up.
I mean, wake them up. The parliamentary bull.
Yeah, send in a bull.
That'd be great. They all have to be on a bull. I'd love to see that.
I'm all about rattling cages. I don't have necessarily a real succinct platform, but I like to shake people up.
Oh my God. I mean, I think the last couple of weeks just really made me see, like, I don't know, I was just so disgusted with Canada. Like, I've been disgusted with the United States, but I just got so disgusted with all just the very subtle ways. You know, there was a big discussion about how Second City has been racist and the CEO had to step down. And then, you know, I recalled how I felt that when I was in Tony and Tina's wedding, and just the way they treated, like I was in that show, the way they treated that show, the way, like, you know, I auditioned for Tourco and then they were just, you know, called me to be in Tony and Tina's wedding. And I was like, these fucking people only ever see me as Italian. And then Monty Scott and I had such a great conversation last night about this whole thing and how, like, you know, how this country, Canada, if you are an ethnic, they just want to see you do that. You know, they don't want to.
Tokens.
You possibly can't just be Gavin Stevens or Phil Luzzi, who's telling stories about shit. It has to be about my crazy family. You know
and
it
is a very specific range of ethnic that you can be.
Yeah.
Because I'm fresh off the boat. I think I'm too raw for a lot of people. And I had, at some point, I'd had to, like, just go for it and be like, so I'm gonna be even.
Oh, Carol, come
she
back,
max headroomed.
Carol. And she max headroomed. Love a good Matt Frewer reference. That's good.
CBC just froze her. It was like, enough of that shit.
They found out. Oh, she's back. Brazil let her back.
Oh my God.
Oh, but sorry,
You're
guys.
back.
My internet is like, I don't know, but it's a very specific kind of ethnic, I think, that is desired.
Yeah.
Well, my complaint has always been, and I've talked to Gavin about this over our lifetime, kind of. It's annoying to me that you have to talk about your ethnicity. You're not allowed to talk about laundry or some shit. Because they're like, we could have had a white guy talk about laundry. Why would we bring in this, this tan bastard to not talk about how wacky his mom is?
That's literally what they said to you. This
but
tan
it
bastard.
is because
it was an odd conversation, Gavin.
His skin matches his briefcase.
Monty. He just talked to your dad, and your dad was like really talking up your tan.
You gotta see skin.
Yeah. I should be talking about my dad only, but he's the white guy. That'll just confuse. Yeah, they're just like, oh, for Christ's sake. We said talk about your parent, not that one.
But I mean,
find when they want ethnicity. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was saying, I find when they want ethnicity, like comedy and stuff in this country, they want us to, like, I call it like food court ethnicity. Like, they want us to, like, make white people feel comfortable.
Right.
So they want, like, you know, right. They want us to be like, oh,
We're
it's
here to
like we have to
entertain
show
you.
white people. Yeah, it's exactly that. We're here to entertain you. We can't be anything
We're
else.
so different from you. Let me tell you all these like crazy
Yeah.
things my people do.
But
Yeah,
be
these
relatable
poor-
also.
Yes. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Be relatable.
Relatable and
Exactly.
safe.
But
Yeah.
you know,
Don't scare these
Well-
white people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Carol's scaring them a little bit. She's going to Brazil on them.
to Brazil. But you know, no, but I think like I don't have any problems with live audiences, even in small towns, because they recognize.
I'm with
They like it. They actually, I have no problem at all. Like I think it's just the industry I'm talking about. Like live shows, I have no problem. No problem.
The industry.
I found working. Sorry, Sandra. Go ahead.
No, and I was going to say the industry here, like this is what these last couple of weeks, it's like it's so incredibly racist that and you know that coupled with the fact that in our own country we're racist towards ourselves because we're not promoting our own stories because we're buying other people's stories. So it's a double racism. It's like we're quashing the Canadian culture because they're not supporting and amping us up. This is fucking fucked up. Like it's really been on my mind, you know, so much the last couple of days. And I'm like, and I'm wanting, you know, Monty and I, you know, just articulated it even more. So it's like, this is fucked. Gavin, go ahead. Sorry.
I find in this industry, it's not even, it is race and everything, but they have no idea who people are. Like comics comics and people in this industry who perform in front of live audience should be running the industry. The people in the industry are clueless to the everyday person. Clueless. They have no idea. That's what I found.
So isn't that a racism? Like it's an ism. It's like you're
well, I mean, like then you got like I remember doing a show where on my TV show we weren't allowed to do to have any sets that were like less than rich. Like everyone had to be dressed up and sets had to be like fancy because she didn't want I'm outing her, but she didn't want any she wanted any like working class anything. So I mean like there's a whole bunch of like disconnect. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I mean. So if you don't, it's that same like this, what you're describing is just the same way that a person, when they're racist towards someone, they disregard them. So they don't regard their life and their value. So this is the same thing.
Yeah.
Ethnic performers in Canada are pretty
my
new.
complaint always has been.
What's that?
My complaint always has been is that they seem unable to accept the idea that many of us in this country, particularly in Toronto, are mixed people, and that doesn't mean they're not Canadians. Like you can have a Canadian perspective and not be white, or be from originally another country, but you're a Canadian. You know, you could speak Chinese and still be a Canadian, even though you weren't maybe even born here, or but you spent your whole life here. There's no reason why that's not a valid perspective.
I think about this so much, Monty, because I've been a Canadian for 2 years, right? I've been living here for 7 years, but I've been a Canadian for 2 years. And I always ask myself, like, is my point of view Canadian? You know, how valid is my point of view as a Canadian, and how important it is. You know, I always think about that.
Well, particularly if you've only been 7 years, it's kind of a, it's more of on the cusp than somebody, been here their whole life.
Of course,
where they just have the perspective of being ethnic in Canada, but it doesn't make them not Canadian. Like I don't know why you have to put on an accent all the time and talk about your parents. Like that's bizarre to me that they would just try to leave it at that.
There's an interview with Peter Mansbridge who talks about two different Canadas, and he talks about after the Raptors won, how people didn't realize the demographics of the city. Like there's like between hockey and basketball, the demographics are wildly different. And what Canada's been selling is like a small town hockey thing, but based on the size and where people are, we're actually a big city country. And so like they're marketing this idea that doesn't actually really exist. This hockey small town thing.
I think you really tapped into something there, Gavin, because I remember being on a trip with someone, and we were going to Dallas, Texas, and we're in the taxi on the way to hotel, and they say, "Oh my gosh, it's so big here. Dallas is so big." And I looked at them and I went, "Toronto's the 4th largest city in North America. We're bigger." And they just looked stunned at me. They were like, "No way." I'm like, "Yes, we are the 4th largest city in North America." I feel like you're right. Like there's a lack of consciousness about what's really going on.
Because there's no representation.
Yeah,
you don't
you're
see,
right.
You don't see the stories reflected. Like, honestly, it's really it's a significant problem. It's like, if we don't see ourselves reflected and all we're seeing is American shit, then nobody's tracking what we're doing. And so that's a racism. That's a racist towards our own people, like towards our own people. Like, if you're quashing all these voices, whatever they are, sorry, man, you're quashing culture. You're eliminating a culture. Like by
something like basketball and what happened with the Raptors, people don't really always recognize. But when I was a kid growing up in Toronto, everyone had hockey nets. There was a lot of hockey, and but there was a lot of white people. And then as the city kind of changed, a considerable number of white people went to more suburban areas away from Toronto, and all you see is basketball nets. So when you look at all the different ethnicities that prefer basketball that live in the city of Toronto, all of a sudden Toronto is not a hockey town at all. It's a basketball town.
Yeah.
Because most of the people in Toronto are not really into hockey. Now, outside of Toronto, that's where you find the hockey players. Yeah. Well, I grew up in a place. And Scarborough used to have the most NHL players of any city in the world for 20 years running. They turned out the most NHL players. Now they barely have one house league because Sri Lankans don't play hockey. Straight up, they're just, all their rinks are useless now because nobody's really playing that live in that area.
Hockey's an expensive sport too. It's like it's a lot of money to get into.
Yeah. And guys, now on that note, we're gonna hand it over to our wizard behind the curtain for another special massage.
Hey, this episode of Soft Left was not brought to you by Uncle Ben's. It's just spice, bitches.
Guys, so in our next segment, with record high profits, grocery store execs slashed pandemic pay. I mean, are we kidding? In the famous words of poet and philosopher king Notorious B.I.G., more money, more problems. Lay it down, Phil Luzi.
Well, here's the thing. So all the big grocery store chains decided they were going, not all of them, but the big ones, cutting $2 pretty much off of people's pay, which was for the pandemic. It was called the pandemic pay. But all the parties called in for the representatives of these big companies like Loblaws, Metro, Empire to explain their decision to cancel this $2 an hour earning because of the pandemic. And Loblaws said in a statement, the temporary pay was never about safety, which I always thought it was. I thought, okay, like a window washer might die today. We're going to pay you well. Same thing for a grocery store. But no, they're saying it wasn't about safety. It was recognition of an extraordinary effort. So, and that our stores are now operating at a normal pace, albeit in a new way. And they claimed that they've in fact invested so much into their colleagues and customers during their pandemic. And of course, they're talking about sneeze guards and fiberglass and gloves and masks. And so they say, we're not putting the profit before people because they made these investments, but it's obvious they've only made these investments that are one-time investments. Whereas, continuing the $2 boost in an hourly wage is going to cost them a lot more. But like Sandra said, the funny thing is you're telling these people now they're not going to get paid $2 less when most of these grocery store chains are at an all-time high, reporting like 20% plus profits compared to other years during this time. So that's the problem. What do you think, guys?
I was just so mad. I am so mad. Fuck. I told this to a few people, but I was telling Phil too, like my sister 30 years ago at Miracle Food Mart, it was in Sudbury. 30 years ago, she was a part-time cashier making $20 an hour. And the top cashiers were making $25 an hour. This is 30 years ago. That is exactly when all this shit deteriorated. And they made this happen, that we would be in this part where we're like, we don't make any money. And now we're fucking clamoring for shit.
Honestly, when I heard the news that they were lowering the wages again, I wanted to just find Galen Weston and choke him with one of his fucking cardigans. I was like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, it's another, like, just, it's, because clearly the money was there all along. Right? Clearly the money was there all along. And what are the workers going to do with that extra $2 an hour? They're probably going to spend it in that damn store, right? Where they work. Like, it's not like some of that money wouldn't even come back to them fucking anyway. You know what I mean?
Honestly, it's disgusting. It's despicable. And now they're going to be, they're being called by Parliament, I guess, to, an MP put it forth where they're going to have like an investigation. They're not obliged to go, but that they're going to go, and it's like, this is why this movement that started, this global movement, this revolution, it started out it's race, but it's we've all been suffering under this, corrupted system, right? Where that puts us in certain places. You know what I mean? Like based on class, like race is the worst, right? That's where it's like, people experience the worst, what's the word? The worst manifestations of this system if you're a racialized person. But it's like, we've all been part of this disgusting system that has fucking been hammering us for 30, 40 years, and stealing from all of us. And, this movement is going to keep growing, and if they don't start turning the fucking leaves, like how can 30 years ago somebody got paid $25 to an hour to work at a grocery store, and now they're making 13? How did that happen? How did they do that? They was scheming. They made it happen. That's fucked up.
They did it. Actually, it makes so much sense because income did not obviously increase the same way inflation did. So by the time all these like huge companies like Walmart and Loblaws, they're able to like take over all of these supply chains to make them the cheapest. So they will capture the bulk of our population because no one's experienced a huge jump in there. They have us by the balls is what we're saying here. Like, I think
I don't understand now.
Here is like, we all have to be okay with paying $1.25 for an apple for a little while and shop local, because that's the only way we're going to have to prove to these companies that we don't just care about the cheapest apple,
Yeah, exactly. Amen, man.
Or we can burn it down.
It's disgraceful.
Like, we don't have to pay $1.25 for an apple. We can just burn the place down.
I mean,
if we all save $1.25, we can all, a few of us can get flamethrowers, and then we just
have fun and have so much fucking fun.
Thank you. Exactly. It'd be a good time.
You know what, Gavin? There's no need to bring anything. They sell lighter stuff in the grocery.
See, Monty, you're thinking.
So convenient for that.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
God.
a one-stop shop.
And then you just mush up all the bananas and put them on the ground so that if not the workers, but like, if you want to kill certain people, you just do it with the bananas.
Some of those places have got a Joe Fresh in there too, so it's very flammable. A lot of clothes in there. You light up a Joe Fresh, and you go from there.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that he was running for the Democratic leadership? What was who was it? Not Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden. Who was the other guy? Pete Buttigieg.
Oh, Buttigieg. Booty.
So Buttigieg was involved with the bread fixing in our country with Weston Foods. He was the guy that helped architect that whole idea. His company was the one that helped architect that idea of the bread fixing scandal. Wow. So I mean, it's somewhat relevant to this conversation. I just had to bring it out there.
What is it? What is this scandal? I don't know what it is.
What was it? Because they owed every Canadian a certain amount of money based on like fixing the prices.
I remember now.
Did any of you guys collect? I tried to collect the money.
I don't think I got my money.
I did.
I didn't even bother. Oh, did you? Good for you. Yeah, I didn't bother.
Who am I supposed to talk to for that?
Didn't bother? Are you kidding me?
I gotta talk to
Jalen Weston.
Yeah, you gotta go to Buttigieg. You gotta go to his house.
Yo, Buttigieg. Where's my
you gotta play You gotta play Mario Kart with him for a night, and then.
Oh my god!
Fair enough. It's a date.
Oh my god,
guys! Of course, are you crazy? You didn't bother. Like, if you have the opportunity to take $1 from Loblaws, why wouldn't do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I collect. Yeah.
You collect what?
Every point. I want every dollar.
Yeah.
I want everything.
You're right.
When the pandemic first started,
I have $400 in Optimum points. I can't get them up yet.
Whoa.
I've been saving up for 2.5 years, guys. I love
Jeez.
That's amazing.
Whoa.
I think I told you guys this off the top of the pandemic. I was at Loblaws and bought a big bag of oyster, like really expensive mushroom, and I just punched through the regular mushroom price. And I said, "La-di-da, gaily Weston."
Whoa, easy. They felt that. They felt it.
Could you hear Rage Against the Machine in the background and you punch the numbers in, Sandra? You're like, "Fuck you! I won't do what you tell me."
I did. I went up the speaker. I'm like, "Eat my dust." Did you see what I just did?
Eat my dust.
Exactly. Phil, Morello guitar solo.
Phil, I'm always confused as to the
drop,
mentality behind saving up the PC points. I just like, are you hoping to put a down payment on a PC condo at some point? Like, what do you keep them for,
I got Beats headphones. I got Beats headphones for $30. Like, that's
awesome.
Yeah.
You
know? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because of your PC points?
Because of my PC points. I'm telling
you. I'm playing checkers. You're playing chess with your PC points over there.
But you know
those
what we're
headphones
talking about
cost you
here?
$900.
Exactly.
$900.
Hey, but I got a lot of gel and deodorant out of it. So.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
You smell great, Phil, at this point. You smell great.
Okay, guys, we're gonna move on to our next segment, and again, we're gonna throw it to our lady mob boss for another special annunciamento.
Hey, this episode of Soft Life is brought to you by grapefruit. Sometimes it's pink, sometimes it's white, sometimes it's sweet, sometimes it's sour, but guess what? It's always citrus.
I mean, didn't you guys think that she was describing a vagina?
No.
Okay. It just started off that way. It's like sometimes it's sweet. I don't know.
Sometimes it's pink. Sometimes it's white. You're like, are they talking about my
Oh, guys. Okay, so guys, this is our next topic. So guys, our next piece. It's about the coronavirus, folks. I mean, as if we haven't talked about this fucking bullshit enough. But the WHO warned this week, the World Health Organization, that we are in the most dangerous point of the pandemic. So don't let your guard down. Heed Deuteronomy 29:18. I know I love a good biblical quote, but check it out. Don't let your guard down even now, today. Someone, man or woman, clan or tribe, gets sidetracked from God, our God, and gets involved with the no gods of the nations, lest some poisonous weed sprout and spread among you. Woo! I didn't even realize how much that was, that fucking, that verse was so relevant. So I'm just going to hand it over to Monty Scott.
All right, Sandy. What's okay? I follow the numbers a lot. I do a lot of COVIDing, and I follow the numbers. And well, as we know, I think it was Saturday, Brazil had 50,000 cases, which is obviously an insane amount. It's half the amount that basically Canada has had in one day. They're pretty, but the United States continues to kind of beat Brazil on this, where I think all this week they've had about 35,000 cases. Texas all week had to 6,000 cases. Florida, 5,000 cases. And keep in mind that Ontario, the most we ever had, we're around the same size as those states. The most we've ever had is 600 cases was our highest. Now we're down a little bit under 200. So Florida, Texas, and even Arizona, which I think is a relatively small state, 3 to 3,500 cases. You got Georgia's got like 1,700. North Carolina has over 1,000. These are, but particularly Texas, Florida, and California and Arizona. All those 4 states are in huge problems. They've kind of remained in denial, and we've been watching this kind of in slow motion as this has been happening. Now they've got themselves in a position where I don't know. I guess my question is where like it seems like it could only go down from here, but maybe they could stabilize. What do you guys think they're going to do moving forward? If they're just going to leave it as it is and just keep descending, or what?
I mean,
I think they're going to ignore it. I think that's the plan, is just pretend it's not there. Like a 6-year-old or a 10-year-old who has to clean the toilet. It's like, man, if I just ignore it, it's fine.
That does seem to be the plan.
Yeah,
that's the plan.
That's what Brazil is doing, and from everything that I've seen, the America and Brazil, they're doing similar things, right? Similar politics, and Bolsonaro, we don't have lockdown anymore. Like everything is open. The case is there's a huge miscounting because he is doing everything he can to hide the numbers. So we think the numbers is way higher than what it's showing.
Wow.
In Bolsonaro's and Trump's defense, like, they're both idiots. Like, I don't know anyone that expected that to be good. Like, they're morons. These two are morons.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to work at this job, and the guy was right around Trump was getting elected, and they're like, "Well, he's a businessman." I'm like, "Look at the job we work at. Businessmen suck at shit. Why would you want them in charge of a country?" And it's like, yeah, he's an idiot. They're both idiots. They don't know what they're doing. It's not even,
he's never been a good businessman. I mean, good businessman might be able to do something.
Yeah, he's an idiot. They're idiots.
But he's rich. Like, people, they idolize rich people. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. I want to be like Jeff Bezos. Oh, he's the best. People idolize those rich people. I don't get it.
Well, Bezos, the thing is with Bezos, at least he essentially made his money. What did Trump, if your dad gives you $50, are you going to go admire the guy who has $50?
Yeah, I know. Like, but Bezos invented the mail system. Like, he didn't even invent it. He just, like, all these people are just, sorry, I'm just old man rant. Yeah.
Oh, please, rant it. That's the whole
point.
But
Bezos did something. Trump essentially just moved his dad's money around.
Bezos didn't do shit. I get what you're saying, but Bezos didn't do shit. Bezos didn't do shit. Someone built that all.
Yeah, he updated the U.S. Postal Service.
Exactly. Someone built the technology, not him. Someone did. A whole bunch of other people did stuff, and he collected the money on it. These people are useless.
Like a general contractor.
Yep.
He's a general contractor of capitalism.
I was listening to Chomsky. Talk about, like, cell phones, how everyone's like, we wouldn't have cell phones if we weren't capitalism. They all came from government contracts. They're all like, it's all socialist programs that created everything we have. Like, cell phones and all that. It was military, and then they sold them for cheaper to private sector. So the private sector got this stuff for cheap and just made, like, they just made it look better. That's about it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I love that cell phones are brought up. Like, we wouldn't have cell phones. I'm like, so what? Like, what? Like, a cell phone? Not that it's bad, but
exactly.
I mean, it's basically the only thing cell phones has really done is saved me from having a Pearlies in my car where I have to look through individual maps and shit. So I'm like, thanks, but I'm not gonna bow to capitalism too much on this. I do enjoy not using the Pearlies.
I've been feeling during this where I'm like, just because of all of this kind of stuff, where it's like finding out, it's like these are all government contracts. Like, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, all that Steve Jobs, that was all just, that's the property of the United States government. They funded the research to have that stuff done. And then, but you know, in America, they're like, oh, but you know, so everybody should share in this. You know what I mean? But America wants to be like, oh, let's give this guy, let's give this guy a party. Let's give him everything. Look what he did. You know what I mean? Or I don't know. But it's like the other day I was like, you know, the government should make everything. And then I'm like, oh, what is that? That's communism, you know? And I was like, no, because you remember the whole mask for months, the mask, it should be this, it should be that. If the government came up with a fucking mask and said, this is the mask you fucking wear, and that's it. I don't think anybody would be like, I can't believe I have to wear this mask. You know what I mean? When my friend who's got leftover material could do it. You know what I mean?
Sandra, you were taking a hard right on that one. Was like you're like the politician that first day of the job he comes in an army outfit and you're like, uh-oh. He's wearing like an army hat and shit. You're like, oh geez.
Oh man.
You're gonna wear this fucking mask.
But I mean to say that it's like it was all this discussion, and then now everybody's making masks, and you're like, is this the right mask? I don't know. Is it the right mask?
Yeah.
That's the
just like question. Eliminate the options. Just make it one mask. Everyone wears that mask. You get it at the park where the dog bags are, and you know you throw it out. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm with it, Gavin. I always wanted the Buck Rogers lifestyle of one outfit, one jumper. What you tell me what it is, bro? You pick it. I don't care.
This is the oldest reference episode ever. You, Buck Rogers, me, Max Headroom.
I think that's the whole problem. That people don't want to. People want different masks. They want their individual mask made especially for them. That's what they want.
But you know what?
Yeah, this is hilarious.
We got used to that. It's like these people want this. It's like Mother Earth ain't gonna fucking. She's just like, shut the fuck up. You guys want to make more shit? You could drown in a sea of fucking petroleum because I'm done with this fucking.
Yeah. Sorry, Sandra, Mother Earth. Do you know her Instagram account? Could I follow Mother Earth somewhere? Or
yeah, you follow her every day when you walk on her.
Mother Earth have a good fan base that I could exploit.
You follow her every day when you walk on her soil.
Speaking of Mother Earth, did you guys see that Siberia had like the hottest? That was scary.
Oh, I didn't.
It was 104 degrees. What? 104 degrees. Yeah.
Was it really?
But I bet you this was someone's dream. You know what I mean? How many Siberians are like, hey, hopefully one day this place is gonna heat up. I can't take this cold anymore. Oh my God.
A Siberian with a cottage, and he's like, finally, everything is coming together.
He's the Jeff Bezos of Siberia.
Exactly. I've been waiting my whole life.
They've been operating a bed and breakfast for like 10 years.
But I mean, think about how much Canadians complain about the weather. I'm like, finally, it's changing for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Siberia was hot.
Well, it's hard to complain about global warming as a Canadian. It really is. Because you know it's bad, but
yeah,
you're like, I don't know. It seems better.
But I don't know if it's gonna be because it's gonna be warmer. But what other things like droughts or what other things?
Oh, floods. Yeah,
floods. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
yeah, it's problematic in the long run, Carol. But when it's not minus 50, you're like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Monty's like, I see Monty like his lip sync, like he's talking. Are you guys seeing the same thing with Monty? It's like his mouth is moving, but he's out of sync. I couldn't even say the word.
Am I being dubbed by somebody?
I didn't mean to be that person. I was following.
We're gonna hit up our.
You guys should see how fast I'm actually talking. It's I'm lapping the video.
You're like a Japanese train. You're just going so fast.
Yeah.
Run away, train, never running back. Guys, we're going to go into our last final segment. But before we do, another little special word from a really special girl.
This Soft Left episode is brought to you by wear your mask. Yeah, wear your mask. There's still a pandemic, people. I know it's hot, and I know it's sunny, and I know it feels super great, but you gotta wear that mask. And I'm talking to you, millennials.
Monty is gone. Monty.
Oh, Monty. So, guys, we're going to go into our last segment, which was Canada lost to Ireland and Norway for a seat on the United Nations Security Council. And I mean, guys, like, who else is offended by this? It actually made me I was so offended. So with more on that, take it away. I'm going to take it away. So Canada lost its bid on the UN Security Council again. This is the second time that this has happened. And then the CTV made us some chirp about how this is just a stark reminder that Canada has lost its influence in the world. And I was like, oh my God, now I'm really feeling fucking bad for this country. You know what I mean? Here I thought we were fucking killing it. And then, but before these last two times, we had won a seat every decade since the UN has been, created. And anyways, apparently the reason why we didn't get in was because we don't spend enough on international development assistance and UN peacekeeping. So that was sort of some of the reasons why we didn't get in. Plus, like, there's other things like the environment and our indigenous people, strides or not strides, but we haven't made the strides that we need to. And a professor at the Royal Military College said that the U.S. election and NAFTA took Canada off its course because we made the bid in 2015 after Justin Trudeau got elected, and apparently that's too fucking late. Like, Ireland and Norway have been doing it for much longer. So another international relations professor was saying that it's not fair to look at this loss of Trudeau's as a that he's not as popular on the international stage, that it's more a lack of spending and attention and engagement with the world, they said, because we've been too consumed by the United States. So my question to the panel is, does Canada spend too much of its fucking time trying to please the big thunder? And should it instead focus on the rest of the world now?
Did Ireland get in? Is that what you're
Norway.
saying?
Yeah, Norway.
They just legalized abortion. Like, how? I don't understand. What is the
criteria?
Like, what is? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, is it different? Is there like different levels for everybody? Like should we be ahead of Ireland?
Olympic-sized swimming pools and arenas.
That's
you have to make it. You have to have infrastructure.
I don't get it. I don't get any of it. I think the UN's useless.
Yeah, isn't it the United States? It's the arm of the United States. I don't know. This is what, like, is it?
One thing we can say for sure about Canada. Canada's a nice country, but we have to admit, as militarily, we're slackers.
As opposed to Ireland and Norway, because we've heard the tales of their valiant military forces for years.
Although
I hadn't thought of that.
That would be an awesome three-way war. Norway, Ireland, Canada, battle royal, winner takes all. But we would have a hard time winning that one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know who I would take. I don't know what the line would be, but
what's the purpose of the UN?
I mean, to maintain
global
peace
security.
around the world.
Brunches? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I think it's the union. They just forgot 3 more letters, and they just want dudes. You know what I mean?
It's the union.
It's the union.
That's what I think.
It's the country union. That's hilarious. You got the union
buildings are some of the largest suppliers of terrazzo floors in the world, or something like some fucking.
Oh my God!
They're also affiliated with the pipe fitting union. They're like, yeah, with the pipe fitters and also all the countries.
They're all polishers, all unions.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs.
You know what I think
Stevedores,
the UN does? I don't know if this is 100% true. I think it's trying to keep Russia off Europe's ass. I believe that is part of their function.
I just hope that's what they say in the meetings. Yo, guys, just keep off Europe's ass, okay? Because we're sick.
We got to keep Russia off Europe's ass, or it's going to be a problem.
I don't know. It just sounds like a lot of yippity yapping. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, the United Nations.
Why did we want into it?
Yeah.
Because when Trudeau won, he said, "We're back. Canada's back." I mean, I guess,
I mean,
if it's like, if you want a seat at the, like, if someone invited you for dinner Like, let's say it was, I don't know, Beyonce. Would you prefer being at her table or not? Like, if you had the choice, would you be like, do I want to sit? You really, it was up to you. You'd be like, yeah, of course I'm going to sit.
Was Beyonce okay with America invading Iraq for weapons of mass destruction? Then I can make my decision based on that.
Yes, yes.
You've given me a very bizarre hypothetical. I'm invited to Beyonce's, but she might not let me eat at the table. I'm like, what the fuck?
So,
I mean, if Beyonce had a security council, then that's the one I want Canada to be on.
Yeah.
I'd at least like to eat with the security guards then. Come on.
Like, if that would mean that they would all have to do a dance number, like formation, you know what I mean? All the leaders would have to do a dance number, then that's the UN. It's like, look at these guys, they're partying, they're doing dance numbers. It's a fucking coup d'etat. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think the cultures will agree way more with each other if they party together like this.
I think that I wonder how much like diplomatic sex goes on.
So much.
That would be the best if there was beef with countries because somebody banged someone else, and now there's bad blood.
Yeah,
I have to say the hottest sex I've ever had has been treaty based. Oh my God, go hard into those negotiations, Sandra. Go.
But guys, come on.
They go in a closet.
I've been on Parliament Hill. There was a couple of people.
Parliament Hill.
And that's Parliament Hill.
Story.
Can you imagine that's on their card? I put the dip in diplomat.
Oh my God, Canadian porn, guys. This is parliamentary porn.
Oh, that's not.
I mean,
yeah, Carol, go.
No, I like it. I like the idea of the
people arguing in Parliament and then they start making out. Because that probably happens every now and again.
Yeah.
Question period.
It would be a very
well, they won't they?
Will the Liberals finally make a decision about penetration?
Oh my
This
God.
might be the dirtiest episode we had.
Maybe the UN is having sex. They all of them
Definitely
in
most
a
fucks
closet.
per capita this episode.
What's that?
This episode is definitely more fucks per capita.
You know what? I was like, we got it. Remember that fucking quote I read off the top? That was a lot of F words and cunt regulations. Remember that?
I was like, damn, Sandra's angry.
Yeah.
No, that wasn't me. I was reading a comment.
You pulled out all that. You pulled out those biblical quotes too. I'm like, Jesus Christ, all I can quote is "They live." Fucking John Carpenter movie.
I'll accept that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Those are always good.
If I went to church and the guy read me "They live," I'd be like, cool.
Candice, I really just attributed to my Google keyword searches. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden Deuteronomy, and I'm like, what? Look at this. Deuteronomy pops up. It fits in the fucking show. Boom. You know what I mean? Thanks.
That's how Deuteronomy works.
Right?
Yeah,
the dudes.
like that.
The dudes.
Our episode?
Yeah.
What's that?
Sorry.
What's that, Monta?
If we made one mistake this episode, it was we got to come back with some knowledge of the UN at some point.
Yeah,
it's possible all six of us know absolutely nothing about the UN. I'm like, I don't know. Union was the best suggestion we've had.
That was fucking.
I love the conversation because we started off with like this question, and then I was like, "What does the UN do?" And then it fell apart.
Well, you know what does to a word? You know, a UN, what it does to a word is undo everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's all they do.
So I think that's what UN does.
They undo.
They just analyze stuff and undo it.
Gavin, when you asked the question, our conversation collapsed on the weight of its own ignorance.
And then it ended in a dip porn. I mean,
yeah.
I fucking love it.
We stuck to what we knew: diplomat sex.
Dip sex.
That's a channel on YouPorn.
I don't know what happened to Gavin. Oh, is it dip sex?
Oh,
I'm sure if you went Pornhub dip sex, it would come. I didn't even mean for that to. I didn't
Sorry,
even
guys.
Yeah, so guys, we're nearing the end of the episode, and we've decided to move our, a really fun part of this episode, a fun part of our show to right now, dance party, guys. So we're just gonna fucking shake it up after all that good conversation. I don't hear the music though, but I think it's coming soon.
Here I am. And we're going.
It's wicked.
Can't touch this.
Oh, damn it.
Can't touch this.
Ma. Thank you.
You can't touch.
Woo!
You can't touch this.
Can't touch it.
Hey, can't touch this. There we go. I'm out.
Guys.
Woo!
Wow. Where's Gabby? Oh, yeah.
I was dancing. I was watching you guys dance. I danced.
COVID.
What's that?
As soon as MC Hammer came on, Gavin bailed. He's like, all right, I'm out of here.
What'd you say, Phil? What was
I
that,
think
Phil?
that's a good song for COVID.
Yeah.
Can't touch this.
Can't touch this. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Guys, I think that was my favorite episode yet. You guys are fucking fantastic.
That was a fun time. That was a good time.
That was really good.
Yeah.
We're here every Thursday, 7 p.m., ladies and gents. Don't forget to visit softleft.com. Please support the show and become a Patreon supporter too. I didn't know what the hell Patreon was, but now I'm starting to figure it out. But yeah, I'm just gonna throw it back to the panel for some shout outs. Candice, can you shout out some biz?
I stand with Jagmeet. I say support him. My shout out is to Jagmeet Singh.
Nice. Luzi.
Since I'm wearing their sweatshirt, my shout out is to New Eden, which is on Crave, and I'm in it, and so is Sandra Battaglini. So give it a watch because it's pretty funny.
Oh my God, Gavin.
Oh yeah, I'll stand with Candice, and I also have a podcast called Uncolonized, so you can check that out.
Yeah, please do. Zoccoli.
Oh my God, guys! I have no shout outs, but my Instagram at Zoccoli Carols.
No shout outs, just shut ins. That was all of us.
Exactly.
Monty Scott, what do you got shouting out?
I guess my Twitter, Monty Mofo Scott, same as for Instagram. You can check out my album on Comedy Records called The Abyss Stares Back. Check that out, I guess.
Oh yes, please do. And guys, visit CanadianStandUp.ca. Send them a letter to your MP, and let's shake up this fucking country so that more of our stories about Canada can finally be shared with the rest of the world. Especially stories from these amazing people that are here with me virtually tonight. You are all beautiful, precious people. And thank you for being here. Last shout out to our wizard behind the curtain, Mob Boss Joe. I don't know if she had anything she wanted to share. I know she's going to a cottage. So we're not going to be here next week, but we'll be back the week after. So thanks guys so much and have a wonderful week. Bye.
Cheers, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.